we're going to be talking about the MRI sequences that a suprasellar mass would look like. A suprasellar mass comes to ophthalmologists as bitemporal hemianopsia, and the most common being pituitary adenoma, but it can also present to us as cavernous sinus syndromes because of lateral extension into the cavernous sinus, and that means ophthalmoplegia. But let's just take a suprasellar mass that is causing a bitemporal hemianopsia, a very common chiasmal presentation. So as you know, the sella turcica is the Turkish saddle. It houses the pituitary gland, the stalk, the diaphragma sellae, and above that is the optic chiasm. So lesions that affect the pituitary gland can grow and come out of the sella and press on the chiasm. So that is an intrasellar mass with suprasellar extension. The most common cause of an intrasellar mass with a suprasellar extension is a pituitary adenoma, because the pituitary tumor starts in the sella and then grows upward through the diaphragma sellae and becomes a tumor that's pressing the optic chiasm, producing the bitemporal hemianopsia. So that's why the appearance radiographically of the pituitary adenoma is like a snowman. It's intracellular, passes through the diaphragma, and then has a suprasellar component. So a snowman is the radiographic appearance of the pituitary tumor. The pituitary tumor is usually heterogeneous because the composition of the pituitary adenoma is heterogeneous. Not all the cells are the same. There's hormones, there's fluid, there's all sorts of changes that occur in the pituitary adenoma that are not the same across the entire histopathologic structure of the tumor. And so pituitary adenoma is usually heterogeneous. And that means on T1 and T2 and after gadolinium, it will be heterogeneous. It can be isointense, hyperintense, and then gadolinium heterogeneous enhancement. That is the typical radiographic appearance of the pituitary adenoma. In contrast, a craniopharyngioma is usually suprasellar. Doesn't arise from the sella because it arose from the suprasellar space and has embryologic origin in the Rathke's cleft. The cells there grow up and press on the chiasm. But because the craniopharyngioma is part cranio and part pharynges, it will be heterogeneous in its signal as well, and will have hyperintensity where the proteinaceous cyst is. It'll be cystic and solid, so even though it's heterogeneous, unlike the pituitary adenoma, it'll have a cystic component and a solid component. And after gadolinium administration, there'll be variable enhancement. So cystic, solid, heterogeneous enhancement, predominantly suprasellar, that is the radiographic features on MR of craniopharyngioma. If, however, you have a meningioma, it arises from the meninges, and it has homogeneous enhancement, and that little bit of the meninges is called the dural tail. So it'll be homogeneous, it'll be isointense on T1, isointense on T2, but it will be vigorously enhancing and homogeneously enhancing after gadolinium contrast material. There may or may not be the dural tail, but it'll be dural based. It'll be suprasellar, but it can be intrasellar, rarely. So suprasellar mass, dural tail, homogeneous enhancement, and isointensity on T1 and T2. These are the characteristics of the meningioma. And finally, you have glioma. In a kid, the glioma is going to be in the optic nerve. So here's the chiasm again, here's the stalk, and here's the pituitary. So the lesion is going to be intraaxial and is going to cause enlargement of the optic chiasm. So the tumor itself is inside of the optic apparatus. So there'll be enlargement, fusiform enlargement of the nerve, or enlargement of the chiasm. There'll be variable T1 and T2 signal intensity and variable enhancement after gadolinium. But the key and differentiating feature is that it's intraaxial, intraparenchymal, and inside of the optic chiasm or optic nerve itself. And usually that's a kid. In an adult, a glioma of adult is usually bad, a malignant glioma, a higher grade glioma like glioblastoma multiforme or anaplastic astrocytoma. So glioma in kids usually benign. It's associated with neurofibromatosis type 1. In adults, more likely to be malignant glioma and intraaxial, intraparenchymal, inside the optic nerve or chiasm is the distinguishing feature of the suprasellar glioma. So if you just know these top four, glioma, pituitary adenoma, craniopharyngioma, and meningioma, those are by far the most common suprasellar mass lesions that we would accompany a bitemporal hemianopsia and be seen on an MRI.